of the NADCO recommendations, Honorable Speaker. And I therefore commend the House and both houses actually for the passage of this bill, being, I think, the second or the third bill amongst the legislative proposals that came out of the NADCO process. The first being the reconstitution of IEBC under the amended act that we did last year, and we now have that IEBC in place. This law now goes to foster what was expected of that IEBC, and I do hope that the commission that's in place will get in motion to start preparing not just for the by-elections that are slated for later this year, but also prepare for the general election. I beg to second.
Honorable Chepkonga, you know I have to propose the question first. So allow me to propose the question, which is that the Election Offences Amendment number 2 bill, Senate Bill number 28 of 2024, be now read a third time. Chepkonga.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. It will be a travesty of justice if I don't say something, and I appeared before the very competent committee that was chaired by our majority leader together with the Wiper, the Wiper Patriotic Front leader, the Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka. Madam Speaker, it is questionable. The patriotic one is questionable one. Maybe the front one we agree, but Madam Speaker, I must say that the public participation that was conducted by this committee, Madam Speaker, was quite extensive, was fruitful, and I must say that the proposals that came out of it, which you have just considered in the committee of the whole House, and now as we consider in the third reading, were very innovative and very progressive. In fact, it has come at a very timeless manner because of the constitution of IBC. And these are very important provisions that will help us in ensuring that we conduct fair and transparent and accountable elections. So I support Madam Speaker.
Very well. There being no more interest on this, allow me to put the question, which is that the Election Offences Amendment number 2 bill, Senate Bill of number 28 of 2024, be now read a third time. As many as are of that opinion say aye. As many as are of a contrary opinion say nay. The ayes have it. Next order.
A bill for an act of
Okay,
parliament
sorry, before the next
to
order.
amend the Elections Offences Act. Order number 10, motion, consideration of the Affordable Housing Regulations 2025.
Chair delegated Honorable Chepkonga.
I thank you, Honorable Speaker. I beg to move that this House adopts the report of the Committee on Delegated Legislation on its consideration of the Affordable Housing Regulations 2025 laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, 12th August 2025, and pursuant to Section 59, subsection 4 of the Affordable Housing Act number 2 of 2024, this House approves the Affordable Housing Regulations published as legal notice number 114 of 2025. Madam Speaker, Article 43, subsection 1, clause B of the Constitution guarantees every person the right to accessible and adequate housing, as well as reasonable standards of sanitation. In addition, Article 21 obligates the state to take legislative, policy, and other measures, including the setting of standards to achieve the progressive realization of the rights guaranteed under Article 43 of the Constitution. To give effect to Article 43(1)(b), Parliament enacted the Affordable Housing Act number 2 of 2024, which establishes a framework for the development and access to affordable and institutional housing and for connected purposes, which includes also, Madam Speaker, social housing and rural housing. We noticed, Madam Speaker, that there are constituencies that are very small, but with very huge populations. And one of it is represented by one of our members in the committee, the Honorable Watch, whose constituency is 4 by 4 square kilometers with a voting population of 130,000. And the area is too small, and the people that live there would not be able to afford affordable housing. So these regulations provides for social housing in place of affordable housing, so that we can be able to accommodate Article 43 of the Constitution. Section 4 of the Act imposes a housing levy at the rate of 1.5% of the gross salary of an employee or the gross income of a person that is not otherwise subject to the levy as gross salary. Under Section 5, employers are required, A, to deduct the levy from an employee's monthly salary. Number 2, they must contribute an equivalent amount as the employer's share. And number 3, they must remit the employees and the employer's contribution to the appointed authority and collector within 9 working days after the end of the month. The levy is intended to generate funds for the development and financing of affordable housing for Kenyans. Pursuant to Section 59 of the Affordable Housing Act, the Cabinet Secretary for Lands, Public Works and Housing and Urban Development has enacted regulations to facilitate the effective implementation of the Act and provide clarity on its application and implementation, Madam Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the Committee on Delegated Legislation considered this regulation in accordance with the Constitution, the Statutory Instruments Act, the Affordable Housing Act of 2024, and an interpretation of General Provisions Act Cap 2. In compliance with Section 16 of the Statutory Instruments Act, the committee held a meeting with the State Department for Housing and Urban Development on Thursday, 7th August 2025. Madam Speaker, the salient features of these particular regulations are as follows, Madam Speaker. The regulations that have been made contain very important provisions, Madam Speaker, that seeks to resolve a number of issues that the Act itself has not provided for. Among them, Madam Speaker, the regulations provides for preliminary provisions, including the citation, interpretation of certain words that have been used that were not interpreted in the Act, Madam Speaker. Of importance, Part 2 of the regulations provides for the allocation of affordable housing units. As you know, Madam Speaker, there was a lot of doubt as to whether people would be interested in affordable housing. As you know, we've just seen what happened recently when the president launched the affordable housing and the number of people who are interested. And we saw the people who are already entering into those houses. So there has been massive interest, Madam Speaker. And the Cabinet Secretary has therefore provided the criteria on allocation of these houses and why someone would be denied, and they will provide reasons. This part contains provision on eligibility criteria for allocation of an affordable housing unit, the procedure for allocation of an affordable housing unit, the procedure of the board to decline an application for an affordable housing unit that is not successful, the rate of deposit, which has been capped at 5% of the purchase price as provided under Regulation 7 of these regulations, the eligibility criteria. It also provides for eligibility criteria, how one qualifies to be allocated a house, Madam Speaker. And it also provides also for details in terms of payment for affordable housing, how you pay on a monthly basis. Regulation 11, Madam Speaker, provides for procedure for an application for a loan for the development of a rural affordable housing unit. Madam Speaker, we have found that this country is not similar in terms of the terrain and in terms of culture. What will be considered as affordable housing in Nairobi and other towns, for instance, in Eldoret and other towns, Madam Speaker, where you build high sky scrapers? We found out that, Madam Speaker, in places like Turkana, Garissa, Wajir, Mandera, affordable housing that needs to be constructed in those areas need not go up. You need bungalows because they have sufficient land mass that you can construct. Two, the culture of these people cannot allow them to live in high sky scrapers. So if you went to Turkana today, Madam Speaker, and you build a huge apartment. The lower floors the ground floor will be occupied. The others will remain empty. So, Madam Speaker, this particular regulation seeks to cure that and to provide. The other thing, Madam Speaker, at the beginning, people thought that affordable housing does not include shops, does not include schools, does not include a police station. All these amenities are required to support the affordable housing that has been constructed. These regulations provides for construction of police stations, of shops, of schools within the complex that those houses have been constructed. Part 4, Madam Speaker, provides for the offtake of affordable housing units. Regulation 14 provides for a list of institutions that may offer financing for the offtake of this affordable housing. It sets out the requirements for approval of an application an application by an institution to offer financing for offtake under Regulation 15, and the procedure for approval for offtake where the institution certifies complies with the requirements of these regulations. Part 5 provides for interest rates for loans issued for purposes of purchasing an affordable housing or a social house that has been constructed, and for the development of rural homes. Part 6, Madam Speaker, provides for transfer of ownership of an affordable housing unit. This part sets out procedures for seeking consent for sale of an affordable housing, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, this will deal with unscrupulous people who want to purchase affordable housing for purposes of speculation, so that they make it like it is their business. So what this regulation provides, that if you want to transfer, you must apply. And it also provides for the period. It provides for a period of 5 years within which you cannot transfer an affordable housing once you have purchased it. Part 7, Madam Speaker, contains miscellaneous provisions which include categorization of affordable housing units, the establishment of electronic system for the allocation of an affordable housing unit. Madam Speaker, the process of applying for an affordable housing is not going to be manual. It is going to be electronic to weed out people who want to corrupt the process. As you know, Madam Speaker, we want to minimize the human contact in terms of applications. What we have seen, and we have seen very progressive proposals from the police now, that they are saying that applications to be recruited for a police officer, now it has gone online. It is also similarly in step with what is happening in e-citizen. This will weed out or minimize corruption in the process. It also provides for the development of associated physical infrastructure, the development, the procedure where the board intends to develop an affordable housing scheme or a settlement. It also provides for procedure for offtake of an affordable housing scheme or a settlement. It also provides for the procedure for the publication of a notice, an invitation to tender, where the board intends to enter into an agreement with private institutions and persons, and the procedure for withdrawal of voluntary savings in accordance with Section 52(4)(a) of the Act, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, during the scrutiny of the Affordable Housing Regulations 2025, the committee made a number of observations. The regulations were published on the Gazette Notice of 9th of July 2025 and submitted to the Clerk of the National Assembly on the 11th of July 2025 within the statutory limit of 7 days, so the regulations comply. Secondly, the Ministry of Lands, Public Works, Housing and Urban Development undertook public participation in accordance with Article 118 and 10 of the Constitution. So we were satisfied that people were invited. We saw photographs. We saw the number of people who participated in various regions, Madam Speaker. And the contributions were very animated. People supported it. And Madam Speaker, these regulations are very appropriate and apt in terms of sorting out the inadequate housing that is in this nation. And thirdly, in line with Section 6 of the Statutory Instruments Act, the regulations were supported by the regulatory impact assessment. So we also satisfied that it provided for the regulatory impact assessment. And Madam Speaker, once the committee satisfied itself that all the parameters that were expected to be met within the constitutional framework, the legislative framework, and within the requirements of Article 118 of the Constitution, the committee recommends to this House that it approves this regulation. And on behalf of the members of the Committee of Delegated Legislation and pursuant to Standing Order 210, it is my honor to move that this House adopts the report of the Committee on Delegated Legislation on its consideration of the Affordable Housing Regulation 2025, legal notice number 114 of 2025. Madam Speaker, I beg to move and request the Honorable the indomitable Deputy Minority Leader, the Honorable Mbui, who is a very efficient and effective member of the Committee on Delegated Legislation. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. Have a seconder? Okay, you may proceed, Honorable Mbui.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise to support or to second the motion on the affordable housing regulations. Madam Speaker, first and foremost, I'm a member of the Committee of Delegated Legislation, and this committee is guided by the Statutory Instruments Act, which is very clear about what exactly has to be done when we make regulations. But it's important to note that when bills are passed into law, one of the things that most bills have is a part where now regulations can be made pursuant to the laws so that you can be able to, enable proper implementation of the laws. And of course, to put in details that sometimes are missing. So the regulatory making process requires, first we check whether the bills are, the regulations are tabled on time, because that is within the act. We also check whether there is proper public participation. I know that has been a question over the years because we really haven't yet established exactly how much is adequate. But then once we satisfy ourselves that we believe that all the relevant people that are affected by these regulations have been given an opportunity to present their case, and that it has been also published in our newspapers, and various people from different walks of life have participated, then we convince ourselves that then that is enough. Then we also make sure that there is a generation of a regulatory impact assessment, which basically means that if these regulations have a way of impacting a certain sector of the community in a very, in a very robust way, in a major way, then they must come up with an assessment, which is called the regulatory impact assessment. And these were all done. Madam Speaker, these regulations put details into things. For example, I'll just point about 3 of them. The first one is the eligibility criteria, because the law just says that we will do the houses and they'll be given to the contributors. But then who then qualifies? So we have established that it will be citizens of the country. What age? We have established that it must be adults, so it must be 18 years and above. And then we've also, the regulations also have put in conditions that you cannot, be qualifying and you're not eligible to get a house if you have previously been allocated another one, because then that creates fairness so that someone cannot get a house and then tomorrow get another one and the next day get another one. So basically, the eligibility criteria makes it clear and tries to create some transparency and some fairness. Now, it also deals with the applications, because the law says that you will be able to be given a house. But then how do you get to that stage? So these regulations they indicate that once one is eligible, then there is a form that is part of the schedules that one would be expected to fill so that you can use that form as the application for the houses. And then there is also now the board that is supposed to sit and verify the documents that have been tabled before it, and then evaluate the ability of the applicant to be there to repay the loan. So once that is confirmed, then therefore it goes to the next level. But then there's also timelines given, because sometimes if there's no timeline, then these boards can work forever on a simple thing. So it indicates that within 90 days, that whole process must be done. Now, once you are eligible and you have applied properly, then there is now the allocation criteria. And then they say that upon successful application to the board, then one shall be allocated the houses. Madam Speaker, it also indicates that sometimes the board might say, no, not everybody will be eligible, not everybody will apply and get. So it also indicates that in case the board's decision is made, then it has to be made within 14 days. And that is when they are going to decline, in case they are going to decline an application. And after that, it is important that they notify the applicant, because many times we apply for things, but you never know your fate, because you've sent the application, there is no law indicating what happens. So these regulations show that within 14 days, you'll be notified if you don't qualify. So you'll be notified that you are not successful in that application. And of course, later on within the regulations, it also indicates how you can seek redress if you are dissatisfied. Now, it also indicates in case they decline your application, then what happens? They indicate that you'll be able, the money that you have deposited in pursuit of procurement of that house, then will be returned to you as your voluntary savings. So basically, it is really a straightforward way of making sure that the affordable housing process is followed to the letter. Madam Speaker, the only concern I had, which is not in the regulations, because I fully support the regulations, and I try to raise these with the PS, is how do we make it even more transparent so that there is no individual or group of individuals that can take advantage of these hard-earned taxpayers' money, because these houses are being put up with monies that are contributed by all citizens. How do we make sure that nobody can sit and favor certain cadre of staff, certain individuals, certain people? How do we make sure that no one has the ability to give their friends or their relatives? That basically was the only thing that I felt was not answered, and I'm certain that going forward, they might need to consider that. But Madam Speaker, I will say this, and why I was raising that, because recently, I support the Harambee Stars 100% that they should win. But the president did offer to give affordable houses to the players, and he said he would pay for them. But then my question was, did we want to have a law where the president has access and can be able to say, give Robert Mbuya a house and give Chepkonga a house, but do not give so-and-so a house? I felt that was one of the things that they need to address going into the future, because we want to make this transparent and open.
Yes, we have a point of order from the majority leader. What is out of order, Honorable Kimani Ichung'wah?
You know, Honorable Speaker, my good friend Robert was doing very well in articulating what is provided for in these regulations. But you know, now when it turns to political issues, he has selective hearing on what the president says. And I just want to clarify to him, the president offered to help the Harambee Stars players to get their affordable housing units. And if you listen carefully, he told them after that statement, the first thing you do, register. And that is what is being provided for in the regulations. So there is nothing in the regulations that allows the president, even the president, to give you an affordable housing unit. That is why he asked them to register. Then he will help them to pay for the deposit and get allocated the housing units. And that is exactly what you have been articulating there before, that the regulations provide for the criteria. And if you do not qualify, for instance, you may not qualify because you do not have a deposit. Therefore, the president is guaranteeing the Harambee Stars players that you will not fail to qualify because you did not have a deposit, since he will pay the deposit for them. And this is the spirit that we should be encouraging our Harambee Stars team to work with. And I was hoping that the Honorable Mbui would have now offered that the housing units that are being done in Machakos or in Kathiani, for instance, that he would also pay for a number of his constituents the deposits. Like I've offered to pay for 3 Mama Mbogas and 2 border riders in my constituency, affordable housing units for the housing units being done in Kikuyu. The deposit. Thereafter, they will be able to access the loans that are provided for here. And it's also important to clarify that these loans, again, there's a criteria being provided for in this regulation. And Robert knows that for sure, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I would not want to
Have
a back and forth.
Before you conclude the seconding this motion, honorable members, we have many students seated in the public gallery, and I would like to acknowledge them. I hope they have not left. Moody Awori Primary School from Funyula constituency in Busia County. Sarue Academy from Sabatia constituency in Vihiga County, Turuturu Junior School from Baringo North constituency, Baringo County, Muchoko Junior School, Baringo North constituency, Baringo County, Kiptaiwa Junior School, Baringo North constituency, Baringo County, and Kasrima Junior School, all from Baringo County. I would like to ask the Honorable Robert Mbui, as you conclude, please welcome all the students for us in the House. Please try the
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This one is working. On behalf of the House, thank you for this opportunity to welcome all those institutions that have come to the House of Parliament. Many times I hear members telling them that maybe they want to be members of Parliament. I want to just go against that and say that there are many careers open in the world. This is just one of them. So you can be whatever you choose to be. And the sky is the limit for you when you're in school. So take advantage of that time, do the right thing, and ensure that you open the future for yourselves. Madam Speaker, as I conclude, I just wanted to say that the majority leader may have misunderstood me a little. I have actually absolutely nothing against the president and the wish to support Harambee Stars, because I'm a big fan. But Madam Speaker, my concern...
Honorable Mbui, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm just concluding. My concern was really, how do we make this affordable housing issue in such a way, created in such a way that no one has authority directly, including the president, to be able to say, I can give a house to so-and-so. That authority must not rest in an individual, because this is money for all of us. These are taxes for all of us. I think it's important that that goes into the future regulations, because that's a question that I asked and the PS was unable to answer. And I want, as we go forward, we make sure that we tighten, because sometimes, and I'm not talking about the current regime, someone can be president and decide that all those houses will be given to their relatives and their friends at the expense of the taxpayer. So basically, that is what I was saying. Let's just tighten the laws that we make in this house. Make laws not for today, but for prosperity. Madam Speaker, with those remarks, I second.
Honorable members, I now propose the question that this House adopts the report of the Committee on Delegated Legislation on its consideration of the Affordable Housing Regulations 2025, laid on the table of this House on Tuesday, 12th August 2025, and pursuant to provisions of Section 59(4) of the Affordable Housing Act, Act number 2 of 2024, this House approves the Affordable Housing Regulations published as legal notice number 114 of 2025. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I beg to support this motion on the consideration of the Affordable Housing Regulations of 2025. Honorable Speaker, I hear what Robert Mbui says, Honorable Speaker, and it's indeed important that we have a set criteria first to determine who qualifies for affordable housing and how are these houses allocated. And that is precisely what these regulations, Honorable Speaker, are doing. Honorable Speaker, one of the things after President William Ruto commissioned and handed over the keys of Pukuru affordable housing in Embakasi South, and later some other housing units in Kisumu and Homa Bay, and Kenyans got to see that, unlike what they were being told before, that this housing thing is all a lie. Because you remember, many of our competitors on the political arena had said that this housing was a lie, it would never happen, is a conduit for theft, and this money would never build any houses, Honorable Speaker. And in fact, many have said in funerals and other political fora, asking who told these people we want houses. Now, surprisingly, Honorable Speaker, the challenge now is on the demand. And therefore, it's imperative that we have regulations, as have been tabled before the Delegated Legislative Committee, regulations that will ensure that we have a clear criteria on how do we identify the beneficiaries of those houses, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, if you go to part 8 of these regulations, Honorable Speaker, on the miscellaneous provisions, it includes, Honorable Speaker, the categorization of affordable housing, because there is social housing, there's market rate housing, there's social housing, there's institutional housing. Therefore, this part categorizes what is an affordable housing unit, what is the social housing unit, and what is market rate or market value housing. For instance, the Honorable Robert Mbui, as was saying, as a member of parliament, he cannot, under any circumstances, qualify for affordable housing or social housing. But he can qualify for market value, which will pay much more, or myself, for instance, Honorable Speaker, and many other Kenyans who are able to pay for market rate housing, Honorable Speaker. And therefore, when you apply for a house, you'll be able to classify in your application whether you are applying for social housing, that is at the bottom of the pyramid, or affordable housing or market value housing, Honorable Speaker. The same part also speaks to the establishment of an electronic system for the allocation of affordable housing unit. And it says that this electronic system is what the mover of the motion was alluding to, that there will be no human intervention, Honorable Speaker. When I apply for my market rate house, I do not need to know the principal secretary or the minister. I do not need to know anybody in government. Honorable Speaker, I was shocked the other day, a good friend of mine who is a bishop, asking me, how can you help me to get allocated a unit at the Kikuyu Affordable Housing project? And I simply typed back on my WhatsApp message and told the bishop, good bishop, by simply registering in Bomayangu and following the instructions therein. Honorable Speaker, I've had friends in the diaspora who are asking the same questions. How do we in the diaspora afford or get to access these affordable housing units? Some want to buy for their parents, some want to buy for themselves, some want to buy for their relatives back here. And I've told many of them, you do not need to know anybody. Honorable Speaker, you know, Kenyans, we are accustomed to, you must know somebody to get something. I want to tell Kenyans, you do not need to know anybody. Not the leader of majority, not the deputy leader of minority, Honorable Robert Mbui, not the leader of minority, nobody, not the PS, not the minister, not even the president. All you need to do is to know the procedure of registration through Bomayangu, contribute for your deposit, and Honorable Speaker, these regulations are also provided now for that deposit. Fortunately, that deposit has now been moved from 10% of the value of the house to only 5%. You only need to contribute. If a house is $1 million shillings, you only need 50,000 shillings now to be able to make a deposit, Honorable Speaker. And that is something Kenyans need to know. And I want to invite Kenyans from across the board, even those in the diaspora, my good bishop friends and church leaders who are asking how we can help them. We do not need to help you. All you need to do, maybe we can help you through the empowerment programs to raise deposits to the 5%, but you do not need any help from anybody to be able to access these units. The system is foolproof, the system is transparent, a very accountable system, electronic system, that when you apply and you meet the criteria, the regulations here are also telling us that if you do not meet the criteria, there is also the regulation provide for an appeal mechanism. How can you appeal? Probably it is a deposit that you have not met the threshold of the 5%. You can get back your deposit, you can continue saving and apply for another unit elsewhere. And you do not need necessarily to apply for a unit within your locality. I have been encouraging Kenyans. These houses being built in Nairobi are not for anybody. They are for the people of Kathiani, the people of Kikuyu, the people of Kisumu, the people of Karachuonyo, the people from Lodwar. Honorable Speaker, these regulations also have answered a very critical question. Honorable Speaker, if you allow me an extra minute so that I make that point. The question of rural housing. One of the salient issues during the second reading of this, the affordable housing bill, before it became an act of parliament, was to answer those questions for those naysayers and the pessimists who are asking, who said we want houses? Everybody has a house in their rural areas. The Honorable Chepkonga, in moving this motion, has alluded to that fact, that there are those far-flung districts of our country where we have huge tracts of land. And if you go and build, for instance, high-rise housing, in our rural areas where people have a lot of land, then they will ask you, how can we, for instance, Honorable Speaker, with immense respect to our pastoral communities, our brothers from Turkana are asking, how do we go and live in multi-dwelling units when we have all this land at our disposal? Honorable Speaker, now these regulations are creating the avenue for rural housing. And rural housing, it's not necessary for government institutions and the agencies involved in affordable housing to come and build a house for you. There is now an avenue for you to access money to go and build a house for yourself in your rural area. Therefore, those in Western Kenya who do not want high-rise buildings, those in northeastern Kenya, those in the northern part of Kenya, or in Maasai Land who do not want high-rise buildings, apartments, Honorable Speaker, can now access a loan, and the procedure is being provided for in these regulations. How do you access a loan to now go build the house you want? You want a bungalow, 5 bedrooms. All you need is to pay a deposit, access the mortgage, get the money, build the house. And of course, now the criteria on how to qualify, how they will supervise to ensure that that money is not diverted in to buying cattle or goats. It goes towards ensuring that even Kenyans in rural areas are able to get housing, Honorable Speaker. These regulations are timely, Honorable Speaker, and therefore support and urge members to support and encourage Kenyans, Honorable Speaker, to access these houses through the platforms that are provided for, the electronic platforms. Start saving through Boma Yangu and build your 5% deposit. As I said, the deposit has come down to 5% from 10% that was provided for earlier, Honorable Speaker. And this is encouraging because even within the banking industry, Honorable Speaker, there is no bank that will give you a house at 5% deposit. But through this affordable housing program, Honorable Speaker, Kenyans will now be able to access housing, become homeowners, and generate wealth for themselves and their families and be able to grow our economy, Honorable Speaker. As we say that this affordable housing program is not just about affording houses to Kenyans. It's about our economy, growing our economy, creating jobs for people, creating opportunities, Honorable Speaker, for industrialization of our country. Today, Honorable Speaker, we have new cement factories in this country. We have new steel manufacturing companies, Honorable Speaker, that are rising every day out of this affordable housing process, Honorable Speaker, including the growth of our TVET and technical skills institutions, Honorable Speaker, that are training young men and women, Honorable Speaker. Last week, the President did announce that we will now embark on another program where graduates from our TVET and technical institutions, Honorable Speaker, will be guaranteed of internship programs in the affordable housing units, whether they're architects, whether they're draftsmen, whether they are artisans, whether they're electricians or other technicians, Honorable Speaker. Therefore, this program offers the Kenyan people, and especially our unemployed youth, immense opportunities, and I beg that we all support to make it become a reality across the country. To the naysayers, Honorable Speaker, those who are asking whether people in the rural areas want houses, now they can see we are able to provide good housing with good sanitation to our rural communities, Honorable Speaker, by affording them the opportunity to access loans and
Thank you. The Honorable, I've been seeing this Honorable Harold Kimunge Kipchumba nominated. If he left, then I think you should just remove it from the screen. Okay, the Honorable Irene Mayaka, nominated member.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity to support the regulations from the delegated committee. Honorable Speaker, looking at these particular regulations, I first want to refer the House back to Article 43 of the Constitution, which is very specific in the sense that it talks about rights to accessible and adequate housing and with reasonable standards of sanitation. Honorable Speaker, this is very specific in terms of what the Constitution provides. But in order for the Constitution to be actualized, it is upon this House to offer regulations that actually actualize this particular regulation. And Honorable Speaker, I've looked at the regulation in terms of the different parts and what it has provided, where Part 2 speaks about eligibility criteria for allocation of an affordable housing unit. And Honorable Speaker, this is in particular is very important because we have had situations where a lot of people do not know where to go and who to talk to in terms of getting access to affordable housing, because also, Honorable Speaker, the uptake has been extremely high in the recent 1 year. And this actually speaks to even the people who are naysayers about the affordable housing. Because, Honorable Speaker, the number of people who've taken up houses, including the ones that groundbreaking is just beginning, has really increased. So this particular provision in the regulation does assist with that. Honorable Speaker, Part 3 speaks about public institutions and provision of institutional housing. Again, this is very important because we have very many colleges, Honorable Speaker, in different parts of the country. We have KMTCs, we have universities in different parts of the country. We have different institutions that actually have a need for affordable housing. And therefore, this particular part is really going to help with that, because it then gives regulations in terms of how the approach towards this. Honorable Speaker, Part 4 speaks about the offtake. It sets out requirements on approval of an institution to offer financing for offtake and procedures for approval. Because, Honorable Speaker, we do have a lot of financial institutions that want to plug into this particular noble cause, but they've not been able to do so adequately because there was no regulation in place. So, Honorable Speaker, because of this particular Part 4 regulation that offers the offtake plan and how financial institutions should come in place, I really want to encourage
Honorable Mayaka, I realize I can now see the card for the Honorable Patrick Ntwiga Chuka Igamba Ng'ombe. Are you saying that your card has been on from the time you sat from morning? And I noted that you have been there throughout. Honorable members, I would like to apologize. I have information that you may have inserted your card, but you are not able to see on the screen. So in case you want to contribute, please also make use of your hand. But for now, you may conclude, Honorable Mayaka.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I'll also make this very brief so that other members can have an opportunity. Honorable Speaker, also Part 6 speaks about transfer of ownership of affordable housing units, which is very significant because in the African tradition and where we find ourselves in this particular country, a lot of people want an opportunity to be able to transfer ownership to either their families or their heirs or people who are dependent on them. And therefore, this particular regulation does give provisions for that particular circumstance. And finally, Honorable Speaker, is to look at Part 8, which speaks about electronic system for the allocation of an affordable housing unit. And Honorable Speaker, I am a very big proponent of using electronic system in these particular situations because they are less prone to error than using manual systems, and also because they make this the process become more easier and more seamless. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, I'd just like to urge fellow members to support this particular regulation because they are meant to assist in ensuring that the Affordable Housing Act does come into effect in a proper manner and in a manner that actually seeks to serve our people. With those few remarks, I support and I submit. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Timothy Toroitich, member for Marakwet West.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me an opportunity to contribute on this, on the approval of these particular regulations. That is the Affordable Housing Regulations of number 114 of 2025. Honorable Speaker, these regulations are very important because they are made pursuant to Section 59 of the Affordable Housing Act, which provides, Honorable Speaker, that for proper implementation of the legislation, then the regulation must be in place so that the Affordable Housing Act can be implemented effectively. Honorable Speaker, of importance is the reduction of the deposit from the initial 10% to 5%. Honorable Speaker, that is very important so that every Kenyan can be able to get an house in this country if he wants to purchase. Honorable Speaker, if there is a reason for the current president to be re-elected, then, Honorable Speaker, we only need one reason, and that reason is the affordable housing in this country. Honorable Speaker, it has given a platform to every Kenyan who can be able to make that deposit and to pay a very small amount of money. Then that Kenyan can be able to get that particular housing. Honorable Speaker, the only challenge I have, and I want to bring to attention of Honorable Chepkonga, who is the chair of this committee. If you read, Honorable Speaker, under section 59.3.2, 59.3, it says, the CS shall table before Parliament the regulations made under this section within 30 days of the commencement of this act. Honorable Speaker, that is the law, that it should have been brought 30 days before the commencement of the Affordable Housing Act. And the date of commencement of the Affordable Housing Act was the date of the assent. So even as a house in future, I think we should be careful when drafting these particular provisions of law so that we give time to the executive to prepare these particular regulations. But, Honorable Speaker, irrespective of that, I still support so that we can be able to fully implement and effect this particular Affordable Housing Act. Finally, Honorable Speaker, I also want to call upon the Committee on Delegated Legislation to think and rethink about the process of making regulations in this country. Because if you give the executive power to make law, and this House has no role in amending a statutory instrument, then we are taking the power of lawmaking from this House. Because, Honorable Speaker, as it is, these regulations have come from the executive. This House has an option, as the only option that we have is to either accede to it as a whole or annul without amending even a comma. So in future, this committee of Chepkonga should sit down and reason and amend the Statutory Instruments Act of 2013 so that this House can have a say and have a say in terms of these instruments so that we can even amend or make certain suggestions. Having said that, Honorable Speaker, I support these particular regulations, and if there is no any other reason for the re-election of William Ruto, the affordable housing is enough to re-elect him for a second term. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. 2 term.
Thank you very much, Honorable Toretich. Honorable members, I would like to reorganize business for the purpose of tabling reports. And I would like to give the first opportunity to the Honorable Gikaria.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I beg to Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the House today, Thursday, 14th August 2025. Joint report of the Departmental Committee on Energy and Select Committee on Public Debt and Privatization on the consideration of sessional paper number 2 of 2025 on the proposed privatization of Kenya Pipeline Company Limited.
Thank you very much, Chair Energy. The Honorable Chepkonga, on behalf of Departmental Committee on Transport, please proceed and have the paper laid.
I thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the House today, Thursday, 14th August 2025. Report of the Departmental Committee on Transport and Infrastructure on its consideration of the Air Passenger Service Charge Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 35 of 2025. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chepkonga. And the Honorable Bashir, on behalf of Departmental Committee on Security.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the House today, Thursday, 14th August 2025. A report of the Departmental Committee on Administration and Internal Security on its approval hearing of two nominees for appointment as a chairperson and member of the National Police Service Commission. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Order number 6, notices of motion.
With you, Honorable Gikaria.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I beg to give notice of the following motion, that this House adopts the report of the Departmental Committee on Energy and Select Committee on Public Debt and Privatization on the consideration of the session of paper number 2 of 2025 on the proposed privatization of Kenya Pipeline Company, laid on the table of this House on Thursday, 14th August 2025, and approved session of paper number 2 of 2025 on the privatization of the Kenya Pipeline Company. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
The Honorable Bashir, on behalf of Security Committee.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Notice of motion. Honorable Speaker, I beg to give notice of the following motion, and this is on behalf of the Departmental Committee on Administration and Internal Security, that taking into consideration the findings of the Committee on Administration and Internal Security on its report on the approval hearing of nominees for appointment as the chairperson and member of the National Police Service Commission, laid on the table of the House on Thursday, 14th August 2025, and pursuant to the provisions of Article 246(2) and 252 of the Constitution and Section 3 and 8 of the Public Appointments Parliamentary Approval Act, Cap 7F, this House approves the appointment of the following nominees as chairperson and member of the National Police Service Commission. 1, Dr. Amani Yuda Komora, MBS, chairperson. 2, Mrs. Angela Yaumini Siparo, EPS, member. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Now we can proceed. The next opportunity. I know, Honorable Dr. Chanda, your card is not working, but now the first opportunity will go to the Honorable Patrick Dwega, member for Chuka Igamba Ng'ombe.
Thank you, Speaker, for this opportunity. Because I might say a few things that might look as if I'm not supporting these regulations, Speaker, I first want to start by clarifying that I started to support these regulations. And secondly, to say that the housing project is one of the most progressive projects that have been started in this country. Madam Speaker, it's a project that's faced so much opposition. But when I looked at the opposition the housing project faced, I really thought it was neither here nor there, because I had the opportunity of going through all the manifestos of all the parties that were going for the last election. Since the time of Uhuru Kenyatta, all the parties have had housing as an agenda in their manifestos. But I want to congratulate President William Ruto for the courage to start this project as a very important project in these countries. Going to the regulations, Madam Speaker, I want to congratulate this committee because they have answered so many questions that have been asked by Kenyans. One, what is the criteria for allocation of these houses? This regulations answers this very important question. 2, how can I pass my house over to somebody else after I buy it? These regulations, Madam Speaker, answer this important question. Question number 3, and that have really been used and misused by people who don't support the project, is what will happen to those people who have houses and they are contributing? Madam Speaker, these regulations answer this question, that you can get a loan now and put up your own house using this money. Madam Speaker, looking at the provision for constructing houses for institutions, and being the vice chairman of the health committee, I just remembered that hospitals also are institutions. So as we discuss TVET, as we discuss KMTCs at universities, Madam Speaker, if you go to an hospital like Kenyatta or Madhali or Moi or Jaramogi, and you find people queuing in a ward or sleeping in a ward, and we know hospitals recover money from people sleeping in a ward. So why can't we put up a ward for an hospital at the housing level will still be recovered from the same? So I think these are very innovative fund that this country has started, and about the opposition, and I hear so many people worried about it, you can't start a project and expect 100% support. At that times, people are not opposed to something because they are against it. It's because some questions are not answered. Like now, so many people are asking, what happens to people who are contributing and they want to put up their own house, not to buy in the affordable housing? People are asking, what happens to somebody who buys a house and in our African tradition, later I want to pass it over to my children? So these questions have been answered by this regulation. So I find, Madam Speaker, that I would wish to state that I find that most of the questions and opposition that this project were facing were because the regulations are not being put across, because looking at this regulation, they fill all the gaps, they fill all the boxes that you've really been struggling as parliamentarians to explain to our people, Madam Speaker. And finally, Madam Speaker, when we look at the housing project, I feel so happy when I meet friends who are not employed, who are not contributors of the housing levy, and they tell me, Mheshimiwa, you contributed, but it has bought a house. I feel so good. I feel that I've helped somebody get a house. So, Madam Speaker, I wish to say that these regulations were long overdue. Maybe the lack of these clear regulations caused so many questions from our people. These questions now are answered through these regulations. So I would ask our members of parliament, let's go through this regulation so that as we explain to people what is the housing fund, what is the housing project, we have clear information, we have answers to the questions they have been asking us, because most of the answers were not because the housing project was banned, but so many things were not answered yet that these regulations are answering now. I support Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Dr. Gideon Ochanda.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, one thing that we have to recognize, and the chair needs to recognize this much more than anybody else, is that we are late with the regulation. It's very good, it's very necessary, but we are late with it. Remember, as we are debating about the regulation now, people had started paying 1.5 years ago, and they were paying minus any guidance. So in my view, Madam Speaker, I think the Department of Housing needs to be guided seriously that by the time this thing is adopted, they need to simplify it in a manner that people can consume it quickly, so that it helps everybody else to understand this process that's going on, this scheme. Madam Speaker, having said that, we've had housing schemes, I think since 69, 68, we've had housing schemes. And as at now, Kenyans are sometimes trying to forget that these housing schemes are also still running. So everybody's trying to get to the new arrangement of affordable housing as though there's no any other. Those old schemes that we've known all along are still running. They are going on. So this is just a new attempt to make sure that at least those who have been getting excluded, because those other ones, those are schemes that we are talking about were service schemes. You pay as you earn based on your incomes and all that, based on your salaries, and it's your own choice to go and pick a house. But at the moment, it was basically for those who are able to. This scheme is now for those who may not be able to. And it works like an insurance. And this is something that many people don't understand. There was a time that I was trying to explain to some young people about this last respect insurance scheme. Then they say, no, you pay 1,000 bob per year annually or something like that. Then one says, but what if I die? So what do you want to do with money when you're already dead? And this is the situation we are in here. Why am I contributing to a house that I'm not going to have? We are doing it for purposes, not necessarily for yourself, but for many others. It's like an insurance scheme where you don't pay insurance arrangement for your car, and then you go ahead and cause an accident, or you go ahead and make sure that your car gets an accident because you're going to be paid. I think this is where we are getting it wrong and needs a proper explanation that we are able to move on. The other thing, Madam Speaker, is that we need to recognize that this is a long term. It's an improvement on what has been existing. We expect anybody coming in 2032 also to come up with another quality arrangement in terms of how we want to move with the housing, adding on what's going on. But it's long term in the essence that if we go on with it for a period of time, it's going to help us solve one big problem that I want to believe many members have seen. The kind of settlement arrangements we have in this country doesn't exist anywhere in the world, where everybody wakes up and builds anything because they have their land somewhere. People stay in places that are purposes for housing, and then you leave the other spaces for purposes of different utilities and different, let's say, for purposes of farming, forestry, and this many other things. If you go to the rest of the world, yeah, the settlements arrangement are such that people don't just stay anywhere they want. So this scheme, in my view, in a period of time, if it is focused with that direction, can help us and can help this country in terms of reorganizing, planning for how we utilize our land use is the biggest problem that we have here. And in my view, Madam Speaker, if we went on like that, it is going to be much more important for this country in the future. So the other thing, Madam Speaker, as I conclude is, if we make an attempt as a country to break down the pay, so that people don't ask too many questions, because nobody asks questions about pay that they pay. Where does it go to? But they're asking for a decimal percentage of housing. Where does it go? Yet pay is bigger than that decimal percentage. So maybe with time we break down the pay, that part of the pay goes for housing, part of the pay, percentages of the pay, for example, so that people are able to understand what we are trying to do, Madam Speaker. Thank you very much.
The Honorable Mark Mwenje, member for Embakasi West.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, one of the biggest issues that we have when it comes to the affordable housing is the fair allocation of these houses. Honorable Speaker, when you go, after the launch was done in Embakasi South in Mukuru, there was a very big hike in application for these houses. And one of the issues, Honorable Speaker, is we have so many people who apply for these houses, get rejected, and they all resort to looking for members of parliament or people in power, trying to find a way to get these houses. That is one of the biggest issues. And Honorable Speaker, if we don't sort that issue, then the whole program will lose meaning, and the public will lose confidence in that issue. Honorable Speaker, people who get these houses, we must get to know who these people are. This information must be made public. In this part 2 that provides for allocation of affordable houses, we must ensure that it is clear how these houses have been applied for and who are the beneficiaries of these houses, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I would support the lowering of the deposit to 5%. Standard transactions usually is 10%, and you have to complete the transaction within 90 days. This truly makes it affordable, and at least it makes it affordable actually to those who come from low-income households, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, my question is this issue of loans that are provided to rural areas. I find it strange, Honorable Speaker, that the Affordable Housing Act would be willing to provide money for you to build a house in a rural area. But Honorable Speaker, for some of us in urban constituencies, Embakasi West in particular, where we have a population of over 350,000 people, this Affordable Housing Act does not provide provisions for certain areas where perhaps the fund can be used to even acquire land to build these affordable houses. So, Honorable Speaker, I find it strange that there are areas here in Nairobi, and I'll be specific, Embakasi North, Embakasi West, Embakasi East, and I know there are other areas also, I'm sure in other urban constituencies, where we've got no land to build these affordable houses, but we have our people who are paying this money. So how will they benefit? Does that mean they apply for houses and move to other areas? So that is an issue that I think at some point we'll need to discuss. Honorable Speaker, this issue, and perhaps the chairman will need to clarify further the issue for institutional housing, the issue of renovation of some of these houses, which I think can be a positive idea, especially considering some of the houses in Nairobi, where, for instance, where the police live, where some of the civil servants live, if those houses can be renovated under this program, that is something quite welcome. But more importantly, I'd be keen whether this can also apply to county houses. If you look at the houses, some of them which I even have in my constituency, Karubangi South, Honorable Speaker, the houses, I know that the residents there would be very much willing if the affordable housing program can partner with the county.
Honorable Gishimu, your hand is up. You have a point of order? Yes, what is out of order?
Yes, Honorable Speaker, listening to Honorable Mwenje and all the other speakers, I rise under Standing Order 95, and owing to the importance of these regulations for purposes of effecting the houses that have already been delivered, I think it's important that the mover be called to reply so that we can put this matter to rest. Honorable Speaker.
Well, I would like to give a chance to the Honorable Mwenje to conclude.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I believe there's only one more person who has interest here. And as I conclude, Honorable Speaker, the issue of transferring of these affordable houses, Honorable Speaker, one of the issues that I'm afraid that might be preyed here in Nairobi, and we've seen with those houses that are being recovered by the county, is that we have certain wealthy businessmen who might be able to acquire these houses from people who've acquired them through the affordable scheme. And then these people, because they are wealthy, they'll go out there and just offer money and acquire these houses. Honorable Speaker, I'm hoping that these provisions will protect those people who acquire these houses so that we ensure that we don't have those wealthy people here in Nairobi and elsewhere acquire these houses from these poor people, which eventually they'll end up moving back to the slums again because the lure for getting the money is quite there and available. So that's something I'm hoping will be provided for in these regulations. With that, thank you, Chair. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Ishimo, I take note of what you said, but however, I would like to give a chance to the Honorable Wanjiku Muhia. Wanjiku Muhia, are you able to make it short?
In fact, I'll do
in the interest
less
of
than
time.
2 minutes. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. First, I start to oppose these regulations because in the first place, this scheme is implemented in the wrong way. Honorable Speaker, Kenyans have been asking, why do they pay money through the levy, the housing levy? The land belongs to the government, and government land is also bought or purchased through taxes. And again, they go and pay when they are purchasing. For this reason, Honorable Speaker, I oppose these regulations. They are even not timely. They could have come way before, but I could support this program and these regulations if these houses were built next to the institutions, because we see how our university students are suffering, looking for hostels here and there. If these houses were built next to the hospitals like Kenyatta Referral and others, because we know even at the hospitals, the patients are still suffering. Otherwise, it does not make sense, and the one-term movement will be realized by the taxpayers who pay house levy, and this should be order number 1 to abolish the housing program at Kasarani by the incoming government of United Opposition. Thank you, Honorable.
I want to find out whether it is the mood of the House that I call upon the mover to reply. Will as many as have that opinion say aye? Will as many as have a contrary opinion say nay? There is have it. Mover.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. You know, the Honorable Wanjiku Muhia, she's my very good friend, but she claims that the United Opposition will abolish. I think they are still very far away from getting the votes to abolish anything. So we wish them well in becoming number 2 in 2027. We can contend with that in 2032. Madam Speaker, I have 2 people that just want to speak for 1 minute. The Honorable Oluoch, who are members of my committee, and Honorable Bashir. Just 1 minute only. Honorable Bashir and Honorable Oluoch.
Actually, you're completely out of order.
Okay, I'm
Honorable
out of order. I thank you. I thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, there was Honorable Kipchumba Timothy raised the question of whether these regulations were tabled within the specified period of 30 days. Madam Speaker, the draft regulations were indeed tabled within 30 days. And then we asked them to conduct public participation. That's the reason why. And I think the Committee on Housing must be very careful. You don't make a law that cannot be complied with. Surely you cannot ask somebody to make regulation within 30 days, conduct public participation. It is not possible because they have to get views from members or citizens of this country across the country. So it's important that this is considered. I thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank every member who has contributed, and I beg to reply. I thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable members, I now put the question that this House adopts a report of the Committee on Delegated Legislation and its consideration of the Affordable Housing Regulation 2025, laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, 12th August 2025, and pursuant to the provisions of Section 59(4) of the Affordable Housing Act, Act number 2 of 2024, this House approves the Affordable Housing Regulations published as legal notice number 114 of 2025. As many as are of that opinion say aye. As many as of a contrary opinion say nay. The ayes have it. Honorable members, and the time now being 2 minutes past 1 p.m., this House stands adjourned until today, Thursday, 14th of August, 2025 at 2:30 p.m.
A bill that seeks to provide a legal framework to help mothers who may wish to breastfeed in their workplaces. And thank you for joining us. You are live on KBC Radio Taifa, you are live on Bunge TV, and you are live on Parliament of Kenya YouTube. Thank you, Mheshimiwa, for your time.
You're welcome.
You are sponsoring a bill that seeks to provide for framework on mothers who may wish to breastfeed their children at workplace.
Mhm.
And my question is, what was the motivation behind you coming up with this bill?
I think mine was a personal experience because I got a baby when I was in this parliament. And it was very difficult for me to either rush home or breastfeed because, you know, our maternity leave is same three months. And for me, I believe in exclusive breastfeeding for 6 months. And so at some point, I had to pump my milk, store it, or give it out so that it can be taken home to be stored in a fridge. So even if I expressed my milk here, it was very hard to even save it because we did not have then place where the lactating mothers could stay. And so when I started this bill from the first, it was 11th Parliament. This bill went all the way, it was passed by Parliament, but when it went to the Senate, it died there. I think then 20, again on the 12th Parliament, I started this bill. Again, it went all the way. And because it was coming through the Health Committee, went to the Senate, I died there. But this time, we passed the bill through social protection. So I would just want to thank the Chair, Honorable Alice Anga and the team. They did a very fantastic job. They involved all the stakeholders. And now we are ready. We did our second reading. We concluded yesterday. So next week, it will just be question to be put. And we go for third reading. There are a few amendments that have been recommended by stakeholders. And we are hoping by the end of this, actually by the end of this term, we'll have achieved. By next 2 months, we are hoping that bill will be law.
Okay, what was the challenge in Senate?
You see, when a bill was, it came through the Health Committee, you know, the health is devolved. So when it went to Senate, what happens is that the Senate almost starts afresh. And I think that's why the two speakers have been speaking. they start afresh looking for, again, stakeholders and the process, a process of coming up with a bill. Until then, there's consensus. So time elapsed. For both time, I think the Senate didn't find it as a priority. And you can understand maybe this is the only time they have younger members who are there. Basically, compared to the National Assembly, National Assembly has more younger members. And this is not just a bill for the members of parliament, it's a bill for a person who is traveling in a matatu, a person who is mamamboga in the market. And I would also want to really appreciate the current government through the leadership of William Ruto, because now all the markets, the model markets that we are doing, I have noticed that lactation room is actually provided for. So that means if it is a mamamboga, you can do your work, you can go breastfeed, and then you can go back. And so this now, I will also challenge the county government that they can even get social workers to come and assist these children, so that the mamamboga doesn't have to leave her child at home unattended or with the house girl. She can be doing her work, and then they're in a safe place. There are organizations like Safaricom who already have such rooms. There's it's actually advanced, because there's you can go with your child, you can go with your house girl, and the productivity becomes more. But internationally, even if you go to our national airports, the JKIA, you'll find that if a mother is traveling with a baby, unless you enter a toilet, you'll find like a small table there. That's why the only place you can change the diaper. And if you have to breastfeed, you have to just to sit on those forms and just go somewhere and breastfeed. But internationally, if you go to all these other airports, you'll find there are well clear labeled rooms for lactating mothers. Some of them even advanced. You have a machine. If you had forgotten diapers or you need to change and you had not carried your bag, maybe you left it far, you can be able to purchase a diaper change. If you want to express your milk, you can express your milk. So it is actually something that I said, in this town, you have seen smoking zones. If we can have smoking areas in the town, for
Then
sure,
we should
even
have,
at the matatu stage at bus stop, many mothers travel with their children. You can have a lactating room. A mother can breastfeed in privacy, can change the diaper, and they will feel free. So the bill says any building that has at least 30 people going up should have one room. That means all these tall buildings, even KICC, you only need one room. So you don't need to have every floor or every company coming up with a lactating mother's room. So if you're in a building, it's just to make sure that the owner of the building, there's that one room that is for mothers who have children. They can go there, express their milk in safety. And breastfeeding is key. I always like to remind mothers that the first 1,000 days in a child's life determines the life of that child, whether they are going to be falling sick every time, whether they're going to have stunted growth, whether even their brain development. The first 1,000 days are most important. And in the child, from the time a child is born to 6 months, exclusive breastfeeding is recommended. Don't even give water, don't even give anything, just breast milk. It is enough. It is have enough immunization. It is the nutrition, everything is balanced. So that's why you find children will get colic or something, because some mothers will think my child is not getting full. So you want to add cow milk. Cow milk, that milk cannot be digested by that baby, because the digestive system has not yet grown well. Or even this formula milk that we give our children. Sometimes even the people who mix that milk for you or for the child might not do the right way. So to avoid all this, and also formula milk is very expensive. Breast milk is for free. And I'm telling young girls, breastfeeding is fashionable. Don't be told that your breast will fall. Whether you breastfeed or not, they'll still fall. These are natural occurrences that come in. And once you're done with the issue of breastfeeding and bring up your children, nowadays you can still go back and there's something you can do. You can go back and you can, people are doing a makeover. So being a mother is very, 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 very important. And especially taking care of that small child. Giving that breast milk, you have changed the life of that child. And so that's why I came up with this bill. It has gotten a lot of support. And I'm hoping when you go for that reading, the amendments are not really major amendments. It's just a matter of maybe some adding a month or something. We didn't do the complexity, because some countries actually, they say you can go for 3 months maternity leave, and you can go for other 3 months on half pay, so that you can have 6 months exclusive breastfeeding. So we didn't really want to push it further, but I know with time we can actually achieve it. Here in Parliament, we have very many young girls who are employed. So apart from that, a small, mother's room that is on the other side of the road. Even this house, I'm hoping the time we pass a bill, the Speaker in the Parliamentary Service Commission will manage to give us one of the rooms near here. You see, around here, around where we have the dining, small dining, actually the small dining area, that one can be a very nice lactating room so that I can be going on with my motion, I can rush out and breastfeed and come back. And some parliaments, like I think it's Austria, we have seen UK, both houses, they have allowed even mothers to come in with their small babies. So you can walk in if you wish. It's not mandatory. You can walk in with your child. You can listen into a motion, or you can contribute. We have seen members of parliament contribute when they are holding their babies. So it is very important because I think one of the members, Honorable Zuleka, attempted one day to come with a baby here in parliament, and it was a lot of drama saying there's a stranger in the house. So we are growing, we are learning, but we want to say let us allow our children, and especially the young ones, to breastfeed exclusively for 6 months. If you're able to breastfeed for 2 years, some even breastfeed even for 4 or 5, it is okay.
And what does a typical lactation room look like?
It's simple. A room like where we are, it has to be spacious a bit and then airy so that the mother is also comfortable. I normally say when you want to milk a cow, you normally first make it comfortable. So you'll have some warm water and then you will feed it a little bit. So if it's, a mother can be able to nibble something as they need to be relaxed. Because you can imagine if you're in a toilet, it is messy, it is smelling, you cannot even manage, So it's just clean with a table and comfortable chairs. Preferably if they will get the chairs where mother can be able to relax and sit down. And then there's a table and then a small fridge so that if I'm able to express my milk, I can store my milk there and carry it when I'm done with work. Basics.
Okay.
There's nothing more now. That's why I say, like, but if you go to a place like Safaricom, theirs is on another level. It is really big, and they even have nannies who can take care of those children. We are not going that extra, but for the companies that feel they want to appreciate the young ladies who work so hard for this nation, who work so hard for their companies, and they would want to be comfortable, because let me tell you, the most uncomfortable thing for a mother is when your breasts are full and they start leaking, and you cannot be able to go breastfeed. You are not able to pump, so they start staining your dress. Productivities goes down. And with this bill, if it passes, it actually also saves the Ministry of Health a lot of money, because a lot of children, because of poor immunization, and they attract diseases more. But a child that has fully been breastfed exclusive for 6 months, it is rare for that child actually to get sick. So a lot of expenses that we get taking children to hospital and government the expenditure, it will go down when this bill is passed. Allow the mothers allow them to enjoy their motherhood. And that is also a time that the connection or the bond between the mother and the child comes in. So for girls who want to say, sina maziwa haiko mingi, so I want to add the bottle, do not add the bottle before 6 months. And that is the connection between you and your child. And as long as you continue breastfeeding, this breast will produce milk. So it's the same. We have cows that are jerseys, others are different. The milk, the way it comes is different. But if you continue breastfeeding, you have enough for your child to feed.
Okay, so how affordable the cost of establishing?
Negligible, negligible, because most of this, even building, all these buildings have rooms. So let's start from there. We are not creating new rooms now. The markets that are there, already the markets that we have, the lactation rooms are there. So it's just adding an extra seat. You can even decide if you have offices, you can even start by borrowing seats from different offices. But if you want to go further, have a crib where a child can breastfeed, karasikia kulala, kalale. It is not expensive. It all depends with how one want it to look like, but it's not really expensive. So it depends with how the company wants it to be, but bare minimum. Have comfortable seats, have a table, have a small fridge.
Okay.
Yes.
Employers have different number of employees. Is there a number of employees that if you have, then you have to establish or?
It's not even about employees, it's about a building. What we have said is a building that has more than 30 persons. A building that has more than 30 persons. So we are not saying like every company must have their own lactating room. No. So for instance, and let me give you an example. If you're in KICC, we have many offices. So you're all saying KICC provide us a lactating mother's room so that everybody in the office knows, or who has rented an office there knows, if I have a small baby, there's a place I can go and breastfeed or change the diaper or attend to my child there.
Why do we currently have very few of these lactation rooms in the country? We have maybe less than
I think
100 in a row.
I would say maybe it's lack of information or lack of interest. There are companies that actually, if a girl went for an interview and she's pregnant, she was not given a job. There are even banks today, when you get pregnant, you have signed your certificate of going home. By the time you go for maternity, you come back, you find you have been replaced. So companies really have not been friendly, and employers have not been friendly with young girls working. And number two, for instance, this parliament, the women who used to be nominated or come here before were older women. So they already past the age of giving birth. So even I think we are the first ones that we came in and we could walk in, we were pregnant. It was almost a taboo for an MP to be seen pregnant, you know. So things are changing. Things are changing. And for us even to follow the world trends, I think Kenya must be at the level, same level with other nations. And we already a developed country. We are saying we are developing, yes, but we are there. We are there. Yeah.
Don't you think there is a risk of missing productivity targets for mothers who may come to work with children?
It is actually the opposite.
Mm.
If I'm seated here and I'm not so sure the house girl how I left, whether I'll find my child safe at home, I will not be productive. I'll be very uncomfortable. But if I'm here and I know my child, I have 20 minutes, I've gone and looked at my child, I've breastfed and I've come back, my productivity level will be 102%, you know. But if I am seated here, my milk is coming out. My employer has told me you cannot leave before 5. You have to wait up to 5. So what we are saying, also give these mothers in those first 6 months flexibility of working hours. Let them come after 9 and maybe leave by 3. It is comfortable. So these people, those that they can be able to be productive, and the few hours they are going to be there. No, it's not about the number of hours I've sat on this table, but what was I doing when I was sitting? Because I can sit here and just look at this book, and I stay here for 5 hours, but I can stay for an hour and do work that is worth 1 week.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about the issue of privacy? Given mothers may have to share the rooms and the equipment in the lactation.
I think if you have been a boarding room, mothers, girls have no problem sharing. The problem is when you have to go and remove your boob in a matatu and everybody's looking at you. Or when you're in a hotel. We have seen hotels here in town chasing away mothers who are breastfeeding. Unamwambia wewe mama toka unakuja kuonyesha watu matiti hapa. Na you know, because you don't have any other place you can go. So instead of being under a tree somewhere, that mama mboga, that she has to go and look for a tree, you don't know what can fall to that child for you to change the diaper or to breastfeed. That shared room with the mothers. And mothers don't give birth all of them together. It's not like it's class 1, 2, 3. In an organization, we find only one person or two who are pregnant or who have babies. So, and even in the public places, when we have good space, it is safer when you are with your fellow mothers, but instead of you being exposed there in hotels or in public places.
Okay, you mentioned about open places having this kind of. So, how far is it, or is it in the market? You said Mama
All the
Mboga
markets now, all the modern markets that are being done by the Ministry of Housing, all of them, they have lactating room. I've gone to almost more than 20. When we were going around the country, I was in Chuka. We have one in Kangari, which is my area. All markets that are being done now, part of the specs, I think the contractors have been given, you must have a lactating room. So it is a developing story, and it's good because, as I've said, this journey I started it 10 years ago. And maybe that's why yesterday was a bit agitated when my bill was being jabbed to a funny motion to be moved, because I was feeling we are almost getting late. We are almost getting late. We need to get there. We need to make this a reality.
Okay.
And by the way, it has a lot of support. And I think mothers are very happy.
Let's again talk about a motion that you are pushing for the Ministry of Health to implement the Kenya Universal Health Coverage
Yes.
Policy 2020 to 2030 and introduce a policy on mandatory use of public health care by public officers.
Yes.
And my question is, why do these officers they shy away from using the
That
public
question you should
hospitals?
ask Osoro, because he's the one who shouted loudest the nay. You should ask him why. Because in the 70s, and if you will interact with somebody like Dr. Nikar, who was a PS those days, who has been a medical director, even the president, the first president of Kenya, used to go to hospital in Kenyatta Hospital. Presidents of East Africa, they used to come to be attended in hospital at Kenyatta National Hospital. But what we did is that we commercialized our healthcare. The same doctors we have employed in Kenyatta are the ones who are running private facilities, are the ones who treat us in private hospitals. So that is why you'll go to Kenyatta, you want to go and do maybe dialysis, or you want to go and do chemo, you're told you can only come after 3 months Our oncology is busy. They're not busy. They are running their own private facility. And you'll be told, but now, if here, because you'll wait for 3 months, there's another hospital you can go, you're given a paper, this one, you will get your chemo now. And you're told how urgent it is. And you can imagine we have told somebody they have cancer, how desperate they are. So we have been taking advantage of our patients. And that is why even those cartels in the health sector used some of the members yesterday to say nay. And unfortunately, also, when I was just walking in and I was waiting for the questions time to order number 7 to be finished so that order number 8 can be called. My order was called earlier. There was some urgency because I was not in the house to get to order number 8. And then they go back to order number 7 so that they can say nay. Shame on them. I am one disappointed person. The amount of money we are spending on insurance. And I only just want to take, and I was saying, if you can afford your private medical care, you can go to a private hospital. No one is asking you. But members of parliament, even take parliament by itself. If that money, when I get sick, I am going to Kenyatta, I'm going to KU referral. I even challenge members, if you get sick, when I get sick, I'm in Muranga. Am I sure that when I walk into Muranga General Hospital, that I'll find a doctor, that there will be medication, that they're going to be of high standard? Because when you're talking about UAC, and this is what you're telling people about SHA, then why do you tell people to register for SHA? And you want to put money in private, in public sector, but you want to promote the private sector. And I have no fight with anyone. Mine was, let's put our money where it is needed. Instead of my deduction, every month I'm deducted 30,000. If I was to get a private insurance, it would have covered me for a whole year. But now we are saying this money that we are getting, let that money go to private institution. Then we'll have, I found some doctors or nurses, I don't know whether they're clinical officers, here at the gate. We will stop the industry unrest that we have been having because we will employ enough doctors, we'll have enough money. We don't have to go back to the exchequer because the same exchequer money that is giving private insurances our money is then what we are saying, don't take it to private hospital, take it to public facility. So can we first trust in our own institution first before we say, now we are telling the public to come. So I want, when I walk into Kenyatta Hospital, like I can walk in, I'll find a doctor, I'll not find a line, I'll not find someone who got an accident last night who is still lying at accident and emergency. And the only way we'll have a wake-up call for the doctors, and the machines are working, and people not sabotage those machines to send them to a private one because they know if I don't do a scan here, you don't enjoy the money for sure. And the biggest question I asked the Minister of Health is that what are the statistics? How much money have we paid so far from them we started SHA to private hospitals vis-a-vis what we have paid to the government hospitals? And later, I'm saying all is not lost. Mine, I am going to push it and I'm not going to relent. And what I want now, because we have private insurances, NHIF before used to have a cover for the police and was a very nice comprehensive cover, which was better than what they have now. And if we can use that as something we can learn from, that means we can have SHA comprehensive, where all state officers will have that card. SHA comprehensive, that comprehensive cover. They only need to look at the policy because this is an insurance. You see how they can work around it so that we have a national insurance cover for medical.
Okay.
And then that means all the money will go back to the government. And I don't think the government will steal from itself.
Okay.
Then we can have enough doctors, enough nurses, clean hospitals. We will have hospitals where patients are not sharing beds because we'll have enough resources. Actually, if we're able to plow that money back to the public facilities, that means we will not even have people going and you'll hear the body has been detained because they will have a clear, process. By the time you come in, you don't have an insurance. Or why don't you have an insurance? So then family background. So by the time somebody is dying, you don't have to go and beg a social worker to release a body. Because what business do you have with a dead body? When somebody is dead. So you'll have known this family. If you ask them for 100,000, they will only afford 10. If they bring that 10, release the body because already the structures are so well done. From the time that person was admitted, you can tell how they came in. It was an emergency, or they came with a relative, or it's somebody who was, gotten from a known place. So this person has no one who can take care of them. How can a woman go to Kenyatta and give birth, deliver? Then you detain the child there with the mother. So what is more expensive? Having a mother and a child staying there, eating your food in the name of you are waiting for them to pay 1,000 and they don't have the money. So we really need to work on our health sector. And I always say, where there's a will, there's a way.
Okay.
I am very, very, very sure
Okay.
that if this parliament had passed that bill, and my motion was Ministry of Health to come up with a policy. I had not said by tomorrow or the day after. I was only throwing the ball back to the Ministry of Health. Wake up, smell the coffee. Let us make sure that when we are talking about UHC, it is not UHC on paper. We have to action it now.
Okay. The last question, briefly, because we are running short of time. I wanted to ask, how far are we in the implementation of the 2020-2030 universal health coverage policy?
We are, I might say might be halfway, because that's when we started with, you remember the SHA, now we have Taifa Care. That is just a pattern, the whole thing. Actually, from level 1, level 2, level 3, anybody who is already officially registered by SHA, you should walk in and out of hospital without being asked for a single cent.
Okay.
But the question is, when you walk in and walk out, did you find a doctor? Were you attended on time? Did you find the medication? Because I can walk in and walk out, but you are giving me a paper to go to a pharmacy outside there. So I should be able to find out. And it's also good information to tell Kenyans. The more people who have registered around a facility, the more the government is going to give them either equipment that they need, because they can be able to monitor and see what kind of diseases and what they need, and also the medication. For instance, our place is cold. So there's a lot of orthopedic bones, there's a lot of cold, and there's people get those pneumonias and everything. So the government is able to know this kind of cough syrups, this kind of, this is what we need for this facility. As long as you are registered, the government can monitor and help you. So it's no longer about the county government and distribution, but from national government, SHA is able to monitor and see this facility needs this and facilitate. There is that bit. So we are growing slowly by slowly. And because we are saying we don't have enough, facilities are saying they have not been paid enough money. So if they have not been paid money, and we are still not have collected enough, despite the number of people who have registered, though we still need to mobilize people to register more, then why don't we put that money that we are calling it the medical cover? We add it to the kitty, and the basket is going to be full and enough for everybody.
Okay, thank you so much, Mheshimiwa. We appreciate your time
You're welcome.
for coming to the studio and sharing with us your views on you have a motion and you have a bill that you're pushing in the National Assembly. Thank you. Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching. We have been having nominated member of the National Assembly, Sabina Chege, who is sponsoring a bill that seeks to help breastfeeding mothers who may wish to breastfeed at their workplaces. Thank you for watching again. My name is Tilio Marco. Have a good afternoon. Wa Kikuyu. Shukran sana Mheshimiwa. Welcome to the pre-session interview. And the National Assembly has just come from around 3 weeks recess. What are some of the priority businesses that you're going to handle?
Asante sana Mariko kwa mwaliko wako. And as you said, we've come back from a 3 weeks, very short recess, but a working recess. Basically, which gives members of parliament in committees time to look at the budget estimates. And this time they were rather busy because we were looking at both the supplementary estimates, supplementary 3, and the budget estimates for the next financial year. That's 2025, 2026. And from that tells you that the first or priority business will be budget-related bills from the supplementary consideration of the reports of the Committee of the Budget and Appropriations Committee on both the supplementary estimates 3 and the budget estimates for the next financial year. Then you consider the supplementary estimates appropriation bill for supplementary 3, and also the appropriation bill for the next financial year 25-26. We also have the finance bill 2025, which also before the House and under consideration by the committee, that has been bill 2025. Then there's a division of revenue bill, which we must also consider and agree or disagree with the Senate. I anticipate that we may need to go into mediation because of figures that, from what I hear, Senate is proposing and what was agreed on in the National Assembly. Therefore, once we agree on the division of revenue, then we'll be able to go on and complete the budget making process. There is also the county allocation of revenue bill. All these are budget related bills, including the equalization appropriation bill for 2025. We also have consideration of nominees. You know, there's a National Police Service Commission nominees whose names were sent to Parliament when we were on recess. That will come up. There's a IEBC commissioners consideration of those names, and there also are tribunal on the public benefits organization, benefits organization disputes tribunal, which the Chief Justice has also sent to Parliament for consideration. Is among the nominees that we'll be considering. I think other than that, and the reservations, of course, you remember the reservations that the president sent on the conflict of interest bill and the anti-money laundering and combating of terrorism financing amendment laws that the president sent back to the House. That is also lined as part of our priority business because we will need to consider those reservations by the president and pass a vote in one way or the other. There are bills that we carried on to the session just before the recess, the value added, the VAT amendment bill of 2025, which was a small amendment from something of the last finance bill, the culture bill, National Council for Population and Development bill. And of course, there are also new bills that have come that we published over the recess, like the Virtual Assets Bill, the Kenya Roads Amendment Bill, which we just published before we went on recess and has been considered by the Committee on Roads and Transport. And there are the NADCO bills that were in Senate that have now been transmitted to us. That's just a tip of the iceberg of the very busy session that we have of about 5 weeks till we break for the next recess.
Okay, so on IBC nominees, some of them are facing court cases. Some people went to court and said some of them are not qualified. So does that mean it's going to delay that?
You know, ideally, the names were sent to Parliament by His Excellency the President, and Parliament, when the Speaker receives the names, he sends them to a committee, the committee that will consider those nominees. And the committee has been going on with their work because you cannot stop people from going to court. But at the same time, you cannot stop a parliamentary process in between. And I think over the years, even the courts have agreed with us, and there is immense precedence that courts do not injunct Parliament from doing its work until the end of that process. And therefore, we are here to conclude that process. The names are still before the committee. The committee is considering, and we'll get to know from the chair of the committee whether the committee has been able to finalize with that process.
Okay, so the ruling of the court will be inconsequential? Or?
I am not saying it's inconsequential. I am saying courts do not injunct Parliament midstream.
Okay.
And therefore, irrespective of what went on in court, and I'm not even sure what was said in court, the committee had the names sent to them. And at least I do remember about two or so weeks ago, about 10 days ago, the committee did advertise for public participation. And I know members of the public have been also submitting memoranda in view of the ongoing process. Therefore, it's an ongoing process.
Okay. On Finance Bill 2025, the government, there are measures intended to finance the government's 4.34 trillion the budget. And you say there are adjustments to value-added tax. Are they going to be adjusted upwards? The VAT?
No, there are two different things. The value-added tax amendment bill of 2025 is separate from the finance bill of 2025.
Okay.
The VAT amendment bill is a small one-clause amendment correcting something that was done in last year's tax laws that stopped KRA from, or rather stopped people who are benefiting from certain exemptions, especially for capital projects, from continuing to enjoy the tax exemption beyond, I think, 31st of December 2024. And therefore, this VAT amendment bill is just giving that exemption a further period of 1 year to December this year, because these are people who had investments in the country, and these huge capital investments. And I've seen many of them, people who are in the manufacturing sector, and huge infrastructure projects that are ordinarily given tax incentives, because we are bringing in investments that are creating employment for Kenyans. And therefore, inadvertently, the tax amendment laws of 2024 that were passed in December last year restricted that period up to the end of the year last year. So is just to extend that. The Finance Bill 2025, again, as I said, is under consideration by the Committee of Finance. I think they have also been doing public participation, and I expect maybe in the next week or so they should be able to be through and bring it to the House for consideration.
Okay, so Finance Bill 2025, is it going to have some more taxes? Or?
No, I think if you listen to the CS National Treasury, they said it is almost a tax-free finance bill. And, you know, I know there was a lot of propaganda before even the bill was published, even before the National Treasury finalized the process. And you remember the Honorable Leader of Minority raised it on the floor of the House because people had already started a campaign of disinformation and misinformation. Unfortunately, and I remember saying on the floor of the House, that is what happened, the fate that befell the 2024 bill. A lot of negative vibe and misinformation and disinformation was sold out there. Therefore, it was important that when the Leader of Minority raised that issue, we spoke out to it. And I saw even those who are very busy on TikTok and other social media platforms, misinforming and disinforming Kenyans, stepped back. I want to appeal to them. This, all bills before Parliament are public documents. You can just simply click onto the National Assembly or Parliament's website. You'll be able to see all the bills before the House. Take your time, read. If you don't read, consult people who can help you to read and understand what is there, so that we end the culture of misinformation and disinformation.
Okay. There is also another bill by member for Aldai, Mary Kaitany, the Communication Information Amendment Bill, that is raising some controversy. Some people are saying that it violates the Data Protection Act.
Mm-hmm.
How do you respond to those critics?
First, you must understand that members of Parliament, in their individual capacity as members of Parliament, are at liberty, either on their own motion or on behalf of other interested parties out there, including their constituents, to propose privately sponsored bills. And the bill by the member for Aldai, Honorable Mary Ketanyi, is such a private member's bill. It's not a government bill, so I have really not paid keen attention to it being a private member's bill. But public discourse and engagement is part of legislation making. And that is why the Constitution and Article 108 provides for public participation. And Article, I think, 118 provides for public participation, for the public to engage. And therefore, all again I would urge is people to read, listen to the Honorable Member. I saw her in one of the stations last night trying to explain what she intends to achieve with the bill. And it's only when you listen and understand the import of anything that you get to know really what it is about. There will be an opportunity, because she's just made a proposal, a legislative proposal. It's not a bill that's already before the House. So when it is before the House, it will be read the first time. It will go for public participation, and everybody, every Kenyan has the right to make their proposals. And following public participation, because again, that is what I saw Kenyans never understood last year. You remember with the Finance Bill 2024, all the issues that Kenyans had raised that they were not very happy with had been removed from the bill of the Finance Bill 2024.
So it's about Kenyans are not reading it
properly. They did not understand the parliamentary processes. Because Kenyans, when the committee returned verdict on the bill, and they said, for instance, tax on bread, we have agreed with the sentiments of the public during public participation that we do not need to tax our bread. We have agreed with the public that we do not need to impose a motor vehicle circulation tax, which, by the way, was even sitting in the wrong act of parliament. It was under the Income Tax Act, and a motor vehicle, owning a motor vehicle is not an income. Therefore, naturally, that particular provision was dead on arrival in Parliament. And therefore, the committee agreed with everybody who appeared before them, speaking about motor vehicle circulation tax, speaking about tax on bread, and all those things were removed from the bill. When we remove them, how do you remove certain provisions of a bill?
Tunaingia vijijini, mijini na hata jijini kukuletea taarifa mchana kutwa. Usiku tunaketi kitako, tunadadavua tukichanganua taarifa na makala muhimu yanayokuhusu wewe na familia yako. Ungana na Bernard Ngozi kwenye Open Forum Political Show kuanzia saa 4 usiku hadi dakika zake kila siku ya wiki kwenye
kutoka vijijini, mijini hadi jijini. Hii ni Sound Kanti Talk Live.
Nani kuambia Raila ni Mjaluo? Unasema chama chenu ya Wajaluo. Tafuteni chama chenu bwana, chama hili Ford Kenya watamu wako nayo. Hii mnapiga kelele. Chama chenu yote imechukuliwa. Sasa Sifuna ni Bukusu. Si wetangu ni Bukusu. So nyinyi mnapiga kelele gani? Raila si anatoka Kakamega, originality hapa. Mtulie mpangwe na Waluya bwana. Kama mnataka chama tengenezeni chama yenu. Baba ako right, Edwin Sifuna ako right. Kama Edwin Sifuna amesema ya kwamba mkataba wao haisemi ya kwamba mama kuunga serikali ambayo inataka watu nyara. Mimi ni nani pinga Edwin Sifuna? Raila ako sawa. So Edwin Sifuna ndio Raila.
Na gavana Lengo, nimekuwa Kitale sehemu inaitwa Saboti. Saboti wanaongea lugha ambayo mnaongea hii. Wanasema ni one term Saboti. Nimekuwa Kabuchai, Bungoma, wanazungumza lugha ambayo mnazungumza hapa. Wanasema ni one term. Nimekuwa Bumula. Mheshimiwa, na tarehe 31 tutakuwa na kikosi chetu wapi? Busia. Tunataka pia wasikie. Na Kisii, mnasemaje? One term. Haya. Alafu wanaenda kusema Kisifuna ndiye amesema simenyewe. Kuna vijana kuna vijana wamezungumza hapa, tumeambiwa mambo ya passwords na nini. Unajua kitu ambayo wamesahau, sisi vijana hatuheshimu password. Wale watu wanafanya hacking ya simu na bank na wale wa mulot wanaweza iba M-Pesa yako ukiwa umekaa hapa. Ni kina nani? Ni kina nani? So sisi tunawaambia password yao wakae nayo tu. Tutapiga simu mahali inaitwa mulot. Kuna vijana huko mulot wanajua kufungua simu yako bila kuwa na password. So mimi nataka niseme jambo la mwisho moja peke yake, ya kwamba kama nchi nzima vile tumezungumza Kitui, vile mmesema Kisii, vile mmesema Western, inamaanisha kwamba Mheshimiwa Simba Arati, all the forces of good, munisikize vizuri, all the forces of good must find each other. Must find each other. Na nilisema wazi mbele ya taifa zima na mbele ya Mwenyezi Mungu ya kwamba haijalishi wewe ni nani, background yako ni gani, historia yako ni gani, kama unakubaliana na ile kauli ambayo imetolewa hapa na wananchi, lazima sisi sote tufanye kazi pamoja. Sisi sote lazima tufanye kazi pamoja. Ikuwe ni Matiang'i, ikuwe ni Kalonzo, ikuwe ni Sifuna, tunataka hizi pipe zote ziingie kwa drum moja. Drum ijae mapema. Drum ijae mapema. Mimi Sifuna niko tayari kufanya kazi na mtu yoyote ambaye ataniambia lazima tukomboe nchi yetu. Mnanielewa? Hatuwezi kuendelea hivi. Ndugu zangu, hatuwezi kuendelea hivi. Mimi niliwaambia haijalishi kitu ambayo unafanya. Mheshimiwa Sunkuya ametuambia anataka barabara. Mimi nakaa najiuliza, Mheshimiwa Sunkuya, sijui kama uko na watoto wewe, lakini kuna rafiki yangu alipigwa risasi pale Nairobi anaitwa Rex Masai. Na alipigwa risasi kwa mguu na akakufa. Nimekutana na hawa wazazi wa Rex Masai. Ukiuliza mama ya Rex Masai, mama, tukutengenezee barabara ya kwenda kwako ama turudishe kijana yako hai, mnafikiria atasema nini? Atachagua nini? Sunkuya, I would rather be poor and alive. I would rather be poor and alive. If you are constructing roads so that the Subarus from the DCI can find an easy ride zikiingia kuchukua vijana wetu. If you are building roads, kama hii barabara unasema hii ya Isinya kwenda Kiseria ilikuwa mbaya muda mrefu. Tulijenga hii barabara ndio hasi ipate muda yani wakati rais kuingiza mili ya watu ambao wamepigwa risasi na polisi. That is not the reason why we build this road. We build this road so that we can, all of us who are alive, be able to better ourselves, to better the lives of our people. I can tell you that if you read the Constitution in the preamble, the government we wanted is one that respects the sanctity of life, one that respects the dignity of Kenyans, one that respects all of us. All of us. So the government we want to form in 2022 is not the one that will build the market. 2027 is not the one that will build the markets here in Kajiado. It's not the one that will build roads to Kisii. Just one that will protect life as the most important for us in Kenya. So, nataka nizungumzia IBC.
Tunazunguka kote kote mchana kutwa kukuletea taarifa na matokeo ya habari kutoka pembe zote za ulimwengu. Jioni tunaweka mduara wa kujadili taarifa zizo hizo kwa mapana na marefu. Ungana nasi kila siku ya wiki kwenye matukio ya siku, saa 2 jioni kwenye Sound Candy Talk. Matukio ya siku, makao makuu ya habari kuu ya siku.